Welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about your celebration. And I know for some of us, it's difficult to think about celebrating ourselves. It feels a little bit uncomfortable, but I really want to dive into that today because I think it's important as we finish one goal or we finish something that God has called us to, we do need to celebrate. So let's talk all about that and jump right into our PowerPoint. Okay, so we have this place of reflecting with God and we want to feel his celebration. But I think for a lot of us, it's a little bit uncomfortable to celebrate ourselves or to think about the fact that God is celebrating us. And so I want you to think about any other character, maybe from history or the Bible, that you would say this person was deserving of celebration. And I'm just going to go with Esther for the sake of conversation, because I think she's someone that we're probably all at least somewhat familiar with. So we know from Esther's story that she was instrumental in saving the Jews. You know, God brought her into this place to be the queen, and she was able to talk to her husband, the king, to tear down all of the destruction that Haman had sent against the Jews, and then to be, kind of the one that walked out the process of how they would fight for themselves and the protection of the Jews as a nation. So if I were going to say that someone, especially a woman from history, deserved a celebration, I would say that Esther did. She went after what God called her to, and she was tenacious in it. She didn't give up. She went all the way till the end, and there was blessing in it for everyone. And maybe it's hard to see ourselves like that. We know that we're not necessarily called in the same way that Esther is. I mean, it would be difficult for any one of us to be called in a place to save a nation at this point in history. It's just not likely. But I want us to be able to see the places where God calls us in our obedience as being just as important as what Esther's was. And so it's that place of saying, God, I want to feel your celebration of me. I want to feel the way that you celebrate, the way that heaven celebrates my consistency, that I was willing to go after what you had for me, that I didn't let go of it. Because, what God calls us to is important. And I don't believe that there's this rank of, most important to least important. It's not like we're going to be lined up in heaven one day, everybody from, most important call on their life to least important. The call that God has on our lives is important, period. No competition. It's just important to do what he has called us to do, because whatever it is that he's called us to do, that is then going to impact the people around us. And so we are inspiring others to do what God has called them to do just by being the people that we were always meant to be. We are important. You are important. The call that God has on your life is important. And you finishing one of the tasks that he has given you, one of these goals or these dreams that he's placed in your heart, this matters. And I believe he celebrates you. And so, the first step in this whole aspect of celebration is to get with God and feel his celebration, to believe that he is celebrating you, that he's proud of you, that what you have done and your tenacity and your willingness to walk it out, that it matters to him. And so I want you to intentionally engage in his love for you, his confidence in your ability, and his partnership with you, because that's the most important thing. That in all of this, wherever he's called us, he doesn't just throw us out into it and say, figure it out, see you later. But he walks with us through the process. He gives us wisdom. He helps us. He brings other people into our lives that we need. He doesn't abandon us. He sees it through. We can have confidence in our relationship with him. I want you to talk to him about the person that he's helped you to become and think about what your next steps are. Because whenever we finish one thing, it's not the end of the road. It's then time for something else. What does God have for you in the next season? Where is he calling you to go after this? And so much I think about our future, goals or dreams or where we're walking in the days ahead is really directed by all of these things that we learn in these other places, in these previous seasons. I can look at my life and say, wow, God, I couldn't have gotten through one season had you not walked me through that other season before. What you taught me there was instrumental for what I was going to need to know here. He's faithful like that because he loves us. And if we want to be in a place of dreaming again, I think we have to do these things. We have to engage in God's celebration. We have to solidify these places of his, confidence in us, of our partnership with him, of thinking about what the next steps might be. And I want you to plan your celebration, to plan this place of saying, this is how I am celebrating myself. This is how I am celebrating God. At the end of the whole battle there in Esther's time, they celebrated. They celebrated with feasting afterwards, giving gifts to one another. What does your celebration look like? It doesn't necessarily have to be a party. Maybe you want to celebrate by doing something special for someone else, somebody that really helped you walk through this process. Maybe you want to celebrate with them. Maybe your celebration is going to be something quiet that nobody would know from the outside looking on, that this is your party, but it is. What is the way that you like to celebrate? What is meaningful to you? What do you feel like that looks like? I want you to think about that and to take some time to plan your celebration. And it's okay if you're planning your celebration long before you ever do the thing that you're doing. And it's okay if while you're doing the thing that God's called you to, you're thinking that it might not end up looking like something that deserves a celebration. Because I don't think that our, need for a celebration or our deserve level of a celebration is directly dependent upon the outcome. It's really not about the outcome. It's about all that we learned and all that we were consistent with and committed to throughout the process. Because I learn far more and I grow in huge ways while I'm pursuing a goal. When it's finished, generally my growth is done. My part of the process is over. Whatever I'm going to get out of this is all wrapped up. But all of the good things that happen in me happen along the way. And those things are going to happen whether I get the end result I wanted or not. And so our need to celebrate, our ability to celebrate, God's celebration of us is not dependent on that final outcome. It is about all that stuff that happened in the middle. How are you going to celebrate? What is meaningful to you? Maybe you have a couple people that you want to celebrate with. Maybe you just want to do something that's special for between you and the Lord. I don't know what it is, but I want you to take that time to think about it, because I think it's instrumental in us then moving into the next season where we are ready to dream again, when we've come from this place to say, you know what, God has given me gifts and talents and abilities. And when I use them by partnering with him, it's kind of an unstoppable combination. He always gets the glory. He always wins. It's not about the end result, but it's about what God got through the whole process. And I want to honor him like that. But I am going to be better prepared for the next one if I've taken time to recognize this and to celebrate it. So I want you to do that. What does your celebration look like? What does this feel like to you? What pops in your mind when I say to you, how do you want to celebrate? Take some time to think about that. Write that in your journal. And then come back here and meet me for our last little segment in this lesson series as we talk about just, going after things with the Lord. And what do you do after you've achieved that goal? How do you know what the next thing's going to be? We're going to talk about that when we come back here soon. So take your time, think about your celebration, whatever you need, to map that out, and then come back and join me for the next lesson. I'll see you soon.